Okay, we are live. Welcome back, A-listers. How long has it been? Right? Been a little while. It's like a few weeks off to prepare for our three-day event, our first virtual 3-day event, which I somehow we're able to pull it off, and that's what we're really going to talk about today. I know I want to thank Dawn for filling in for me while I was preparing for those 3 days a couple weeks ago. And I want to thank Jean-Louis. I want to thank Dr. Joan Rosenberg. I want to thank Mary Kincaid. I want to thank Colleen, Coach Colleen, who took over the whole day. And my team is amazing, and they know how to play. And a great perspective that they have, different from mine, but just as accurate, you know. So get your questions ready, because today's a lot about like adapting our company, right? So our company is an in-person company, and Dawn and I are in-person people. We were trained for the most part for the theater, for the live theater, right? Not for the camera shooting, filming a play or a theater, the actual live performance of theater. That's where our training comes from. That's where production chops come from. That's where my performance chops and training comes from. And we, after you do that for a lot of years, 20, over 20 years of doing that, 25 years maybe, you get really good. You get really good because you're a master at the expression and the human connection that theater has and that stage work has. So Corona comes and pays us a little visit, right? And we didn't know initially if it's going to be just a couple of weeks or what it's going to be, or what the politicians are going to say about it, make certain rules about it. So we don't know, right? So we're just adapting on the fly, on the run. And it seems like for a lot of you, probably it seems like, well, man, this pandemic just upended my whole company, which, it did to a lot of companies. But it only upended them in the way, to the effect that they are not able to adapt to a demanding situation. And if you think back to us human beings, we're the best, right? And you got to remember this. You always got to remember this. We are the best, not only the best on earth right now, we're the best in the history of the world at adaptation. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Your ancestors, my ancestors, knew how to compete for mates, for food, for shelter, and survival. They knew how to compete, right? That means they knew how to adapt to a demanding situations, whether it's weather, whether it's a disease, whether it's a drought, what doesn't matter what it is. Our ancestors, because you and me are still here, have proved that they were the ultimate adapters. They were the fastest to adapt. Now, there were some animals and some other human species that may have been stronger than us, and they may have been more fierce than us, like the saber-toothed tiger. They may have been bigger than us, like the dinosaurs, more ferocious than us, but they're not here. And they're not here for one reason: they didn't adapt fast enough. That's it. They were faster, they were stronger, we were smarter. We were quicker to adapt. So that's in your DNA. Otherwise, you would not be here. So it is in our DNA to be the best in the history of the world at adaptation, at taking a demanding situation and turning it into our advantage. So if you look at what this pandemic did to a lot of companies, and it did it to a lot of marriages. I heard the other day that marriages are divorce is on the increase like crazy, right? Because, the turmoil and the upset and the lockdown and all that kind of stuff has made people suicidal. It's made people walk away from their marriages or, break families up. It's only because they didn't adapt to that demanding situation fast enough. That's why people walk away from a marriage or walk away from a company. and the company suffers, right? Or the family suffers, or the household suffers. But you and me, no, we know how to adapt, right? It's in our DNA, it's who we are, right? So that's what I want first and foremost for you to remember. So you take a company like ours that's been in existence, I think, for 10 years now. 10 years we've been doing live events, many live events every year for 10 years. We know what we're doing. Before that, our training was in the theater. So I performed a play for many, many, many years that traveled all over the country and the world. So when we know what we're doing, and we know we're effect, and we know our numbers, and we know it's pretty predictable if we show up live and people are in our audience live, our company is pretty predictable. What was not predictable to us was to now end that company of being in person and going virtual with it. And at first, you guys, just like you, or just like anybody, really resistant to change, right? Like I'm saying the same things that Tony Robbins said when they said, "Hey, there's a pandemic and you can't go live anymore." And he's a live guy. He's a live guy. He likes being in front of people. That's where he's had his effect, person to person. Me too. So I didn't want to do it, right? But I also knew that if I didn't do it, I probably wouldn't have a company anymore. Right? So even a guy entrenched like Tony Robbins or like me, who has a history of being on stages live, belly to belly with people, and knowing our metrics and knowing that's what's predictable for our companies and for our families' lives, to now not throw it all away, but then now pivot to a virtual event, man, it's hard to get your mind around. Right? Especially guys of me and Tony Robbins' age. Right? So I'm 59. I think he's like around 59. He may be 60. He may be a year older than me. So again, hard to adjust, right? When you're at that age, and technology's at a much younger age. My kids can adapt a lot quicker to technology than my wife and I, because we grew up with this. So remember, we're great at this. And that's what I had to remember. I had to go back and look at my nature. I had to go back to Mother Nature. I had to go back to human nature and go, wow, am I going to be bankrupt? Am I not going to have a company again? No, that can't happen if you know how to adapt, which you do because you're here. And your ancestors have passed that down. So I knew I had that. So we just started to adapt, and it wasn't just me, it was our whole team, like fighting for this new adaptation, fighting for theme positions that they didn't know how to play initially. And we all played these new positions. So then I think if you can just get your mind straight about the world was not created by great men or great women. The world was created by demanding situations. And great men and great women faced with those demanding situations rose to the occasion, which is what my team did. Now, having 2 weeks under my belt after doing 3 days live, you guys, I'm so proud and so happy because our mindset didn't change. Our mindset was, we want to be the best on stage. As a company, we want to be the best in the world on stage, right? From performance to the video, to the audience experience, to the registration, to the back end, everything we want to be the best at on stage. So we just shifted that desire, that mindset, to the virtual environment. And we just said to ourselves, if we're the best on stage, which we're right there, if not there, we're right there knocking on the door. Can't we do the same virtually? And that's what we did. That's what we decided to do, regardless of how upset we were, regardless of the upset, regardless of the struggle that it took. We delivered because that's the commitment of the company and the team. Now, there's one thing, I'll talk about this real quick, and then you guys start to think of the questions that you have, because this is where you're going to go, right? You're gonna go virtual. So now, even say the world opened up today and the pandemic was gone, right? It just disappeared like that. And there was never to be a pandemic ever again or anything to get in the way of us going live. Well, at least we know how to go there if we have to. Look, I love the art of co-creation. I love doing that in person. That's what great storytelling is. That's what great speaking is. Really, it's what great marriage is, and it's what great performance is. So my theory, it's not a theory, it's the law, right? So you only get paid for your performance, right? So you get measured by your performance. So if you're a ballet dancer, you get measured by your past performance, and you get paid, and you get measured, and you get criticized in accordance to that last performance, right? So performance is performance is performance. And in performance, there's always co-creation. It's not just you. It's a co-creation between you and your audience. So one thing that the team did for me, which was so helpful for me, because I get energy and I get creativity with other people's energy, right? So I always say, like, Bo is really no good to anybody unless he's got a body in front of him. And a lot of you are like that too. Like, you really get a sense of yourself and your greatness in the presence of other people, because you're co-creating and using each other's energy and inspiring. You're inspiring the audience is inspiring you, and it's back and forth. It's just like a great marriage. It's just like a great dance team, like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, right? That's a great dance team, because while one's leading, the other is following. While the other one's stronger, the other one can follow. And that's great marriage. That's great co-creation. It's great inspiration. My team was able, and you guys might have questions for Dawn too. She's right here behind behind the camera. They did an amazing job getting those people's energy in front of my eyes so that I could see them. And so that I could see them in accordance with where the camera is too. Like they had it set up so that I could see everybody who was in the event. In 3 days, I could see everybody's face. And I wouldn't have to like look over here to see their faces. And I wouldn't look over here to see 3 of their faces. I would see everybody in the event. And that way you could feel their energy, and you could see inside their home, which was a whole different experience, right? There was a certain intimacy that's hard to build on stage that you can definitely build by using the camera. And there's certain intimacies that the camera gives you that's hard to have on stage because of the distance that stage gives you, right? So those are the few things I want you to start thinking about, and then prepare your questions, get your questions. We'll get ready to answer some, Dawn, if we have some questions, whether it's for me or Dawn. Dawn can answer questions like technically, because she was behind it, the production of it, what she did to help me. I can answer the performance aspects of it, the connection with other people aspects of it, and even the warm-up of it, like how I activate myself and get myself ready to perform in front of camera as opposed to performing on a stage or on a football field, right? They're different mediums, but the activation is kind of the same, what I found. Sweetie, how are we doing with questions?
We have some questions, okay, and then cool. Just Marita's on. She said she loved it.
Hey, Marita, how are you?
Patty said she was at our event 2 years ago in La Jolla, and obviously it's a different atmosphere, but that doesn't make your wisdom, knowledge, and influence any less valuable.
No, thanks, Patty. That's nice.
So yeah, just lots of good feedback about the event. And then, yes, I have a question here from, I think it's Ranja. How did you take the close intimacy of doing the event in person and bring it online?
Yeah. Okay, so like when you're in person, right? You're belly to belly, which I love that term, belly to belly. Um, you feel that connection with your audience, right? You know how they're feeling about what you're talking about. You know if they're with you. You know if they're distracted. You know you can feel it in their body language, right? Here's what I told my team, and here's what I told a lot of the speakers that were in this event. I think in this new environment, I think we got to be better. Isn't that funny? We got to be better at what we do. Meaning, if you're on a stage and say you're 100 feet, I'm on stage and you're 100 feet from me, well, there's certain little things I can do to get away with not having intimacy with you, right? Because I can't, the lights may be situated, the room may be situated in such a way that I can't see you. I don't have that connection with you. But with the camera, there's no hiding from your audience. There are certain things you can do on stage to kind of pretend that you're connected to the audience, but you're really not, which you see a lot of speakers do this all the time, which you can't get away with on camera because that camera is, looking at every pore on your face. And this is my favorite part about the moving camera is this. And Dawn and I learned this long ago when we took this, filmmaking class, performing in front of a camera, is the moving camera, which is this instrument that I'm speaking into right now, is only interested, the camera is only interested in Beau's imperfections. So in other words, the moving camera is interested in your humanity, not your perfection. Isn't that cool? The good news is none of us are perfect. All of us are human, but we try to hide that. You can't hide it on camera because it will reveal you as an imposter. So when I'm confused in front of a camera, I'm confused. I can't pretend I'm not confused. When you just have to be more authentic in front of a camera. That's the intimacy that you have. So you can't pretend when things are going all technologically, they're going crazy. You got to acknowledge that. You can't, right, Dawn? You can't pretend like Dawn and I are in the middle of the.
We tried to pretend the first few times we did it.
Yeah, we try to pretend that everything's going good, but if it's not going good, you should go, hey man, we got to get this technology shit, hooked up. Or I just talk like Dawn is right there, right? So I just go, does it bother you that I go like this? Sweetheart, what the heck was I talking about? It doesn't bother you. That's true. I forget where I am. I ask my wife. She tells me. You can get away with that stuff on stage because it gives you some distance, but not with a camera. So the camera is interested in your imperfection. Are we okay, Dawn?
Yeah, no, I'm just supposed to talk.
Dawn's like walking behind the camera, making me nervous. You got the people who are going to lead going forward, I believe, are the ones that don't have a false bone in their body. Not most, but a lot of speakers, a lot of entertainers, a lot of performers are trying to hide behind their personality or their identity, right? I don't think the camera allows you to do that. It just doesn't. And if you need proof for that, look at who are the biggest, look at who are the most popular celebrities, okay, popular, right? And look at who are the best actors, best performers. Those are two different peoples. The greatest actors on the planet, this goes all the way back to the history of time, all the way back to, Humphrey Bogart, Charlie Chaplin, all the way back before there were sound in movies. The greatest movie stars were reluctant to be movie stars. That's why they're interesting in front of the camera. Now, celebrities, people who are building their Instagram accounts, they want to be celebrities. They're out there like this. No one acts like that. Hello, everybody. Hi, it's Beau. I have so much energy today. Nobody does that, right? That ain't human. The camera picks that shit up and marks it as false. And so your audience goes, oh, why am I not trusting this person? They seem to have a lot of energy. Why don't I trust them? Because the camera picks up their imperfections. And that's what you're interested in as an audience. So you get to come inside of Bo and Dawn's life when the camera's rolling. That's cool, right? That's cool. So it's just a different kind of intimacy that you can't be necessarily a showman. You know, if you're a showman or a showwoman, that can work on camera. It just doesn't work for very long, right? You got to go back to your humanity, and then you can be a show person, and then you go back to your humanity. That way, the audience is you're not predictable, which is the death of all art. Once art becomes predictable, like a performer becomes predictable, they've lost all their power. They've lost all their. You don't have to watch them, so you just stop. You go, they're predictable. Okay, good.
All right, we have another question from Tiffany. Do you have to go live to replace the impact of the event? So yes, that answer is yes.
So what would be the opposite? You would record it?
You would record it. That doesn't, no.
Yeah, if I record it, yeah. So,
not right now, not during this time. This time, the engagement has been really important.
Yeah, what Dawn is saying is right. The live is, yeah, you got to go live. Because otherwise, you're performing something that's not happening in real time. It happened a month ago, and now you're just replaying it, right? I need it as a performer. I need the live. Because, look, we're best when our asses are up against the wall. That's when we're best. That's when you're the best. That's when I'm the best. So if you're not up against the wall, guess what you're going to be? You're going to kind of be mediocre. But when it's live and you're jumping out of the airplane, you can't go back, right? That is very human. That is very attractive to an audience. Audiences, if any of you have jumped out of an airplane, you know how it feels. You jump out and you go, why did I do that? I want it back in the airplane. Can't go back. Same thing with being on stage. Once the music comes on, the lights come on, you're on the field. Here it is. We're starting. Come hell or high water, this performance is happening. This co-creation is happening. That gives you that. What Larry Moss, the guy who trained me, that's what gives you the stakes. He was always interested in raising the stakes. Because look, I performed the same play for like 15 years, you guys. The same exact words. 90 minutes, same exact play every night. How do you make it better? How do you make it fresh? How do you make it new? You up the stakes night after night, minute after minute, so that you're always having that feeling of jumping out of the airplane for the first time. Cool. Yeah, so you got to be live. What else, Nick?
Okay, so we have a question from Alyssa. And she says, hold on a minute, let me just get to the right one. Okay, as the event performer, how did it feel to stand or stay in a smaller space when the camera can see, where the camera can see you versus the difference of being on a larger stage and moving? We've been talking about this a lot,
Alyssa,
you and I.
Yeah, great question. It's hard for me to hold still. I can do it, right?
But yeah.
But it sucks the energy out of you to hold still in one place. So if you notice during those 3 days, I was up and down, I was up and down, I was up and down. I was sitting down and up and sitting down and up. Because if I stand in one spot for too long, it sucks your energy.
Oh wait, hold on.
What?
I don't know if the camera went out. One sec. Hold on. I think we can still hear you.
Can you guys hear
There
me?
we go.
The camera just went off?
Yeah, just for a second.
See how things happen, guys?
But I think we're okay because it goes to sleep after 35 minutes.
Oh, got it. Okay. So yeah, and this is what the improvements that I would make going forward. I would make it so that I can move more, right? Because motion creates emotion. Is it on?
Well, it's on here, but it should be. It should be back on here. There's just a delay. Oh, you're on. You're good.
I'm good. Okay, good. Motion creates emotion. For me, what I learned was when I walk and when I move and when I prance and when I stalk the audience, my brain works a little bit different. Like I can feel it activate more. Like I get more like predatorial. I get smarter in certain ways. More like an animal. I'm more instinctive in certain ways. So I think going forward, we're going to build that in, right? We're going to build in that movement with a stage and with cameras that are further back so they can capture certain movements, right? But also motion when you're not in motion. So say I've trained you to be in motion a lot and trained you to be this predatory animal on stage and on camera. That's only powerful if you know how to hold still and be deliberate and be, what's the correct word? Kind of holding back your strength. Your strength wants to move, but yet you hold it back and you hold still. Now, if you can master both of those things, not only the movement of a predator, but the stillness of a predator, now you've got the best of both worlds. And if you notice, like let's think about a predator cheetah or a tiger in the wild. They can move, right? We've all seen them move on National Geographic. They can move. They are so powerful. They can pounce in a second. But what else can they do? They can hold completely still so you don't even see them. You don't even sense that they're there. So stillness has power to it. Movement has power to it. If you can use both, now you got the best of both worlds. That's what I'm looking at going forward in this world, Alyssa. And I want you to do the same. Okay? Your stillness is powerful. But if you're only still, it's no longer powerful. It's now predictable. Your movement has power to it. An attractiveness to it. But if it becomes predictable and you never stop moving, you never hold still like this, you lose your power. So you have to have both. Got me? Cool, listen.
Okay, so, and we have a question from Anne.
Hey, Anne.
She says, what do you think about the possibility of a hybrid video/live events?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we're doing, right? That's what we're, right, John? Can I talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing that. You have to make an effort to really include those people. So if it's on a larger scale, I think you really need to be talking to the camera and keep virtual.
Yeah.
But if it's a smaller group and you can offer both and include the people that are virtual, then it works. If you know what I'm saying.
So in person, Dawn is saying in person, if it's a smaller group, like we're doing that here this month, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll have 40
people in person.
40 people in person, but certain people can't be there, right? So we're going to
stream them in. Yeah.
We're going to stream them in. So I'm going to be talking to real people in a room, right? Training, doing exercises and stuff. And you just got to be as inclusive as you can of the camera and the people out there. So they get to ask their questions. They get to be included in it. And I don't see why we can't do that. It's an intent, you guys. It's an intent to include both scenarios, right? Because look, connection equals connection. Whether it's on camera or in person, connection is connection. Intimacy is intimacy, whether it's in person, like Dawn and I are. But can Dawn and I be intimate on the phone? Yes. Can we be intimate on a Zoom call? Yes. Can we be intimate in person? Yes. It's the intent of what you're co-creating with people, regardless of the medium. Everybody got me? It's a mindset. Connection is connection. Storytelling is storytelling. Intimacy is intimacy, regardless of the medium. You just have to know you're connecting it in both places at the same time, inclusive of the camera and inclusive of the real bodies in front of you. Okay?
So Janice has some questions about the, really nitty gritty technical side of the event.
Okay.
So Bo doesn't usually.
That's not really my place, but.
but we can do a special live with
Yeah.
Todd, who does all of that.
Yeah.
But we definitely practiced. We tested a lot of things. We used different software in conjunction with Zoom and different cameras. So it was a huge process, a huge learning curve, and really proud of our team for actually being able to learn that and do that ourselves. There's a lot of companies you can go to right now that are handling that for speakers. So that's something to think about. Then you don't have to worry about the tech. And she just says, another question, Janice, what did you do to activate yourself before the virtual event?
Yeah, Janice, so as far as a performer in front of a virtual event, it's no different than a live event. I activate myself exactly the same way. And you know what's funny? It's basically the same activation that elite athletes do before they perform. So, Usain Bolt is the fastest human ever to run the 100 meters, right? So he's the fastest human in the history of our planet, right? So he acted. Here's the funny thing: are you and me any different than Usain Bolt? No, we are performers. Our intent, our dream, our goal is to be the best at that. Usain Bolt's dream is to be the fastest at that, to be the best at that. So do you think he would leave anything to chance after training for 20 years? All of a sudden the Olympics are here, and he walks out into the Olympic Stadium with 100,000 people and 100 million watching on TV, and he goes over to the 100 meters and he sets up his blocks. Do you think he's going to go through an activation before he runs that race to be the fastest human being ever? Of course he is. He would never leave that to chance, and neither would I. Never, never, never would I leave that to chance. So I activate myself, no different than the most elite athletes or performers on the planet. So Mikhail Baryshnikov, if he's about to dance the Nutcracker, right, is he going to warm up and activate his body before the curtains open? Of course he is. He's a pro. He's the best in the world. He's the best in the history of an art form, right? Same thing. Who's your favorite Broadway actor? Is it, what's the Australian guy who did the Showman?
Yeah.
Hugh Grant. Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman.
So if Hugh Jackman,
the greatest showman.
So if Hugh Jackman is your favorite Broadway actor, right, which he is a lot of people's because he's amazing, do you think before that curtain opens he would ever just kind of show up? Well, that's what amateurs do. That's why they're amateurs. That's why they never will be on Broadway. You and me, Janice, are exactly like them. We are pros. Our aim is to be the best in the world in our field at what we do. So we could never shirk the preparation that takes place in the wings. You know what I mean by the wings? In the theater, they call this the wings over there. Stage right, stage left. Those are the wings. Preparation is happening all the time. In fact, what you see on the stage is the cumulative effect of the warm-up and the preparation that takes place off stage. Isn't that cool? So next time you watch a sporting event or the Olympics or a dance or a musician, all I see is the preparation. All I see is the activation that it takes place over there. Well, they'll never let the public see it. And that's why amateurs think they can do what pros do. Oh, I just saw him on stage. I guess I can do that too. Look at me. Here I am. I'm not warmed up, but I want to be Hugh Jackman, and I want to be Mikhail Baryshnikov, and I want to be Usain Bolt. Well, good luck with that. But most speakers think they can wing it, so they don't activate. So I go through an activation no different than elite athletes do. I skip, I get my feet grounded to the surface that I'm on. I warm up my voice. I warm up my body. I want it activated so that this body has got 100% permission to do anything. You understand? All Usain Bolt, all Mikhail Baryshnikov, all Hugh Jackman is looking for is permission and freedom that they don't have in their regular lives, their day-to-day lives, that they do on stage or in front of camera, in our case. There's a certain freedom, there's a certain permission once your body is activated by knocking the rust off of it, making it alive, making every pore in your body pulsate, getting your heart rate activated, getting your legs activated, skipping, getting your brain, bam, activated. And once I'm there, don't matter. I can make every mistake in the world out here. I can mess up words, which I often do. I can trip, which I've done before. I can have a sprained ankle. I can have the flu. The audience could hate me, and guess what? At least I'm free. At least I'm giving it everything I got. Now, usually audiences fall in love with that. They don't fall in love with perfection or polish. Oh, he messed up a word. Did you hear that? He messed up a word. Oh, did you hear that? He said the word He said like 8 times. Oh my gosh, I counted. People don't give a shit about that. They care about humanity in front of them in real time. Okay, that's what they trust. Especially now. To give them that trust, to bridge that trust, you got to get this body active. Boom, then start. Okay.
That's great, babe. And then Chris Tidwell has just a question. Last question. He says, did you have different views so that, did we give you different views so that you could try and connect with the audience? Any tips on how you maintained your energy without having the live connection with the audience? Being able, if you wanted to talk about the monitors and why that was so important, and then just really, the screen and going back and forth, spotlighting and all the coaching and all of that.
Yeah, Chris, how's it going, brother? Good to have you on here. It's a great question. When I was coaching an individual person, like they were doing their one true sentence and I was actually coaching them, because the boxes are a certain size, they're kind of small when you're seeing the whole group, I had them spotlight. I guess that's a term that is, what's it on Zoom or whatever?
Zoom, yeah.
That they use, right? So the whole big ass screen here, Chris, like if you're on that screen, they spotlight you, Chris, I can see every nuance in your eyes and in your face and in your voice. I can see everything. I can feel everything. It's like it's closer than I can get to people on stage if you think about it. So when they spotlight them, I can really coach them because they can't hide. That camera reveals everything about them. So there's technology that they can do that. So sometimes when I'm talking, I want to see everybody because I want to feel their energy and I want to get them to see what I'm seeing. So I need to see them in order to do that and empower them. But there are certain times, and Zoom has this technology, where I want to see one person because I don't want them hiding behind anything. Because as a coach, I coach energy, right? I don't coach the bag of bones in front of me. I coach their greatness, even if they're trying to hide their greatness. But the camera won't let them hide behind anything. Their greatness is revealed. So I want to see it, then I want to coach their greatness into existence. Right, so that part of the intimacy of that spotlighted camera is really helpful. What was the other? And
then the gallery, just that we actually bought the monitors, and so that you could see everybody at the event. We made sure that we had everybody's picture up there.
We wanted everybody from the event. I wanted to be able to see them all at the same time. So we bought these screens, right, and so that we could fulfill those screens with everybody's face, everybody's energy, everybody's home. And that's it. I'm telling you guys, this is one thing you're really going to have to remember. Chris, especially a guy like you. I talked to Jean-Louis about this. It is harder. It's harder. You got to be better in front of the camera. It's harder because, you're not getting the energy back from a live audience, in-person live audience. You're having to create that energy yourself. So now, Chris, you're going to be creating your own energy when you're speaking to, 1,000 people on Zoom. You're creating your energy, Chris, but you're not really getting their energy back like you do live. So you're now going to have to create your own energy, Chris, and then you're going to have to create the 1,000 people's energy. Because me and Jean-Louis were going, why am I so exhausted after I do these lives? I'm so friggin' tired. Shouldn't I be more tired on stage? Because that seemingly takes a lot of energy, which it does. But you're only generating your energy on stage. Now your responsibility is greater, which is great for you, Chris, because you've always secretly, without asking for it, are desiring more responsibility to be heaped onto your shoulders. And this is just one of those times, Chris, that your responsibility is not only for your own energy, your responsibility is for you to create their energy. Now that's some heavy lifting, isn't it? That's some heavy lifting, a great responsibility. That's why now recovery is the key to performance now. Because now you're giving your energy, you're creating their energy, and so now you're doing double the work. So you must recover appropriately by getting in an ice bath, by getting a cryotherapy chamber, right? By getting your body cold submersion of some kind, cold shower, and rest. And you got to get great sleep, and you have to have great nutrition and hydration. Because if you don't, I'm telling you, your ass is going to be kicked, and you're not going to be ready to go the next day. You know what I mean? So just like, if you think of the most elite performers on the planet today, now this wasn't true back in my day, and it probably wasn't true in your day, Chris, when you were an athlete and I was an athlete. We didn't talk about recovery. We never even considered it. But now, if you notice, the greatest performers are the best recoverers. They play the longest. They get to use the wisdom that they have instead of their body running out of steam. They get to use that wisdom of being senior, like a guy like Tom Brady. Gets to play till he's 40. He's 43 years old. He's still the best player in the league. He's 43. That's impossible. That could have never happened 20 years ago. But now that he's mastered the art of recovery, which is what you and me, Chris, and all of us on here have to master, recovery now, because now we're giving out so much energy that's not coming back to us. We have to generate for the audience too. We have to surrender to the art of recovery. What does recovery look like? Great nutrition, great hydration for number one. Two, it's got to be some kind of cold exposure, right? Ice bath, cryotherapy, cold showers, that kind of thing. And the activation really helps with your longevity. Let's see. This is our challenge. Dawn just handed me a challenge. If Dawn's going to challenge you guys, it's probably going to be steep. Think about how you can adapt to what you are doing for what people need today. Say more about that, Ben. I like that. Think about how you can adapt.
Just like we adapted, to meet the needs.
What you're doing for the people, and what they need today. So let's go back to the adaptation. So obviously, you guys, the last part of what I just finished with Chris, what we really talked about is when you're using double the energy. So you're going to be depleted at the end. Like even when I get done with these, you get depleted, right? So I have to recover after this. It's got to be great hydration. It's got to be some cold exposure. It's got to be some reactivation later today. It's got to be nutrition, right? It's got to be rest. It's got to be great sleep, maybe a nap, maybe meditation. So now in this new environment that we live in, let's think about your adaptation. If we are, in fact, the best adapters in the history of the planet, us human beings, especially us human beings who are still upright, right? Because we've adapted the quickest, right? So no different than what this pandemic has showed us. The companies that adapted the fastest survived. the marriages that adapted the fastest to the pandemic survived. No different between you and me. The quicker we are. So think about what that is. Think about how you're going to adapt. So your business is going a certain way, your company's going a certain way, your marriage is going to a certain way. How are you going to adapt now to give the people, your audience, what they need? That might be the lesson that they need to learn, right? Because you forget as a human being that we're animals. And you forget that we're great at adaptation because we're so kind of fat and happy with ourselves that we're just laying on the sofa, just looking at the phone or looking at the TV or whatever, right? But there's no adaptation happening there. It's just homeostasis. It's just going south. So think about how you can adapt what you are doing for what people need today. How can you adapt what you're doing, the impact that you're having? In other words, how do you make yourself the most valuable person on the planet? Whether you're a coach or a CEO or a parent, how do you adapt to this current situation? How do you make yourself the most valuable? I guarantee you the most valuable person now is the one that can adapt quickest to help their audience, to help their people. Okay? Think about that. What is that? Put that in the comments. And during this week, we'll be searching those out and answering as we go. So great conversation today, guys. It's really great to, when your attempt is excellence, your life becomes really simple, right? It's just so simple because it's the only market that's not crowded. There's no competition. There's nobody there, right? But the challenge is you got to be the quickest at change, at a demanding situation. So you and me are actually lucky that we get to have these demanding situations set in front of us so that we get to kind of see what we're made of and who we are and how we compete. And see if we're worthy of our breeding. See if we're worthy of what our ancestors adapted and fought for. Are we? We are. We have it in us. We just haven't had the opportunity, but now we get the opportunity to kind of measure ourselves, kind of see where we lie, right? It's kind of cool. It's kind of a fun life. Right? Instead of sitting around complaining that the world's not here to serve you, that's one way to go. It's just not very heroic and no one's going to follow you. Okay? That's the marching orders. Thanks for having us today. Thanks for joining us. And,
thanks for dealing with my little tech.
Thanks.
I did it by myself today.
And thanks for my little tech person over here who is just running around behind the camera, behind the scenes, doing everything. So have a great week, you guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.